Hi, everybody, and welcome to our week number 2 Twitch live stream. Sorry to be a couple of minutes late. The internet connection at school was so bad at the college, and so I went home so that I could have a better connection with all of you, which obviously took me a few minutes to do. So I'm sorry about the delay, but I guarantee it will be worth it compared to being on campus where the internet's super spotty. So anyway, welcome. Happy week number 2. We're here for my intro psych classes in week number 2, and I see a bunch of you joining me. Don't forget to put your name in the chat, unless you're subscribed, and then you don't have to worry about it, because I can see your little football cake next to your name. But what I want to do today, we are in week number 2. And remember, we're still in that weeks 1 and 2 chunk of time. So everything from last week and this week is due by the 20th, this Sunday at 11:59 p.m. So we went over everything from last week during our week number 1 live stream, kind of spent a bunch of time going over the format and structure of the class. So if you haven't done the week number 1 materials, they are still there. You definitely want to make sure you get those done. But what I'm going to focus on this week is week number 2, since that is where we are currently at. So as of Monday morning, 2 days ago, week number 2 is our focus. And the focus for this week is on 2 chapters, chapters 3 and 4, as always, 2 chapters. So chapter 3 is on biological psychology, and chapter 4, sensation and perception. So like usual, what you're going to want to do is 3 things for each chapter. So you're going to want to read through the chapter in the textbook. You're going to want to read through the lecture and then watch the lecture video and click on any links, take notes, right? Do all of those things. Those 3 things together should really give you a good understanding of that chapter and those materials. Don't forget that with the lectures, and I showed you this last week, but just one more time, that there are these 5 tabs at the top. So you have objectives and summary on the first page, beyond the book on the second page. This one's got some really helpful little tutorials about types of neurons, action potentials, the 10% myth, and studying the brain, which is something you'll see in the discussion. There's some in pop culture stuff. There's a little clip from The Walking Dead, from Animaniacs, and then the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, which was popular years ago. Some key terms in review. And then finally, application. How can you apply this to your life? So again, make sure you're clicking on all of the links, watching any videos that are there, explore all of the content, as together it should give you a good understanding of the materials. And then the lecture video is me lecturing to PowerPoint slides, which hopefully will also be a little bit helpful. Once you have done all of your reading, once you have watched the lecture videos and gone through all of that, you do have 2 discussions this week, like every week. So let's take a look at the 2 discussions that we have for week number 2. And you'll notice with every single one, you'll always have my instructions up at the top, just some reminders to be detailed in your responses and think about them more like little mini papers. Don't forget to read through 5 of your classmates and then also reply to one of them to get 2 points. So the discussions altogether are worth 15 points, 13 for your responses to my questions, and then 2 for your responses to a classmate. So don't forget those very easy 2 points. They do add up, so you want to make sure you're getting those every week. I also have a video like usual, might be really helpful for you in understanding the instructions and giving you a little bit more depth about the topic. But this one is all about neurons and the brain. So reflecting on chapter 3, what are neurons and why are they important? Number 2, referencing the specific chain of events and processes involved. Describe how neurons communicate with each other. And I'll give you a little hint, a little bonus for joining me here. I'm really looking for you to talk about electrochemical communication. And so I'm hoping that you reference both pieces of it. Number 2 is where people tend to lose points. They don't give me enough. You don't kind of elaborate enough. So just make sure that you're really kind of walking me through how neurons communicate, talking about the specific parts, the specific events, and mentioning and explaining electrochemical communication. Then what you're going to do is you're going to read this little article. There's a couple of short articles about the 10% myth of the brain. There's also a video that was in the lecture for this week. And then you're going to answer these 2 questions about it. What is the myth and what are the origins of it? and give me two reasons or two pieces of evidence why we know it to be false, right? That myth is definitely a myth. And so why? When you're ready, you'll hit reply and you'll reply to my questions. And then don't forget to also reply to a classmate. So let's say I really like the way that Meg described it. I could reply to Meg or Aubrey, right? So just make sure that you do reply to one classmate to get those 2 points of credit. The other discussion that you have this week is discussion number 4. And this one's related to chapter 4. You're always going to get that connect. And again, you have my instructions at the top, followed by my video. And this one, you're going to read a short article about smell and memory, smell memory specifically. And then you're going to do a little experiment and write about it. So what I want you to do is I want you to gather a small sample of at least 3 of the following. So coffee, tea, cinnamon, chocolate, chapstick, a candle, grass, dirt, a flower, crayons, Play-Doh, some kind of fresh fruit or herb, and then any 2 items of your choosing. And you're going to take a moment with each of those items that you picked. You're going to close your eyes and take in the smell of those items. Try to allow yourself to fully experience the smell, clear your mind, be present in that moment, and then you're going to write about the whole experience and about smell memories. So number 1, did you experience any memories or associations? Which items did you respond to the most, the least? What did you try? Kind of walk me through your process. Number 2, this one is worth the most points. What are smell memories and why do they occur? I want you to tell me what they are. Tell me all the different components of what they are, how they work. Describe why they occur. Make sure that you really elaborate in your responses to receive full credit. And then how can we use the knowledge that there's a strong relationship between smells and memory in your personal life? And give me a specific example of how you could use that. There are definitely lots of different ways that you could. And so make sure that when you're ready, you hit reply, and then don't forget to also reply to a classmate to get those 2 points of credit. Okay, so those are the 2 discussions for this week. And then you obviously have your reading and the lectures and all those things like normal. You also have your first exam this week, so I want to spend a little bit of time going through that. But for now, are there any questions at all before we get to that? I'm going to wait just a minute to see. Please. Sorry, someone had a question for me on here. Okay. If you think of any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Otherwise, what I want to do is spend the rest of our time talking about the exam. And I know exams cause people a lot of anxiety, so I want to make sure that you're feeling as good about it as you can. And so let's talk about where you take it, some tips for success, what's going to be on it, the format, all that kind of stuff. The exams are all on the ebook site. So if you click right here where it says exam 1, it's going to remind you of that. It's going to take you right here. If you click here, you can go to the ebook site, but all the exams are on there, which is why you need your own copy of the ebook, because it is linked specifically to your grade and to your access code. So before you go there, let's make sure that you're ready for the test. And what I mean by ready is that you've studied and prepared like you would for a traditional exam. You can use your notes, you can use your book, you do have open access to those materials, but you're definitely going to want to study and prepare like you would for an in-person test, especially the first exam. When you don't know what to expect for an exam, it's always better to over-prepare. And so I would recommend that for this one. So what you should do is use this study guide right here to help you. So if we click on this, what you'll see is it's going to be a list of all of the terms and concepts that you'll find on the exam. This test is on chapters 1 through 4. And so make sure that you know all of these terms and concepts. If it's on the study guide, it will be on the exam. If it's not on the study guide, you don't need to worry about it. So make sure everything on here that you're familiar with and could answer questions about. There's also 2 little diagrams that I gave you that are on the exam. So make sure that you're able to match these areas to a description of them. But what I would do if it were me, and I've always been that like straight A student that wants to get 100% on everything, but if it were me, I would go through and write out or type out every single term that's on this list. And what that would mean for me is that during the exam, I have it right in front of me. And so I'm not trying to look these up or trying to find them in the book or the lecture or the lecture notes or wherever they might be. you have it all in front of you and organized. And that's going to make your life very simple. It does require some extra effort, but it pretty much guarantees that you're going to do quite well on the test. So I would love to give you that recommendation. It's totally up to you, but definitely study and prepare. And if it's on the study guide, make sure that you do know it for the exam. As far as the exam goes, when you're on the ebook site, the exam is worth 75 points and you have 75 minutes to take the test. So you have an hour and 15 minutes, which is definitely more than enough time. The average amount of time people take is usually about 60 to 62 minutes. So you should have plenty of time as long as you have studied and prepared. So just make sure again that you are ready to go. And yes, you can use your study guide while you're taking the exam. So if you prepare it and you prepare a document or something like that, you can use it while you're taking the test. And that's going to make your life easy, right? So I would definitely recommend it. The exam is mainly multiple choice and true false. There are some matching questions, but no short answers. So the true false questions should be really quick. The matching questions are going to be, where you're matching an option that is there for you. So my advice to you would be if you don't know the answer, skip it. You can always come back to it later. You don't want to use that valuable time like trying to figure that out, but you could always come back to it at the end. And I would also really recommend that you don't wait until Sunday night to take the test. It feels like the universe comes back at you if you wait till the very last minute. So it's due by Sunday night. So make sure that you take it Sunday morning or Saturday or Friday or today or tomorrow. Definitely try and take it a little bit earlier than the last minute. Make sure that you're ready before you begin. And what I mean by ready is make sure that you have 75 minutes to spare, that you have good internet connection, that you have, a quiet place free of distraction to take the exam. All of those things are going to really help set you up for success. And of course that you've studied and prepared. And so as you go through the exam, again, skip things if you don't know them. Make sure you save all of your answers. And you will get a score instantly the second that you submit the test. And remember that that score does not come over automatically to Canvas, but it will allow you to see how you did on the test instantly, which I think is really nice. You don't have to wait. And then I will be bringing those scores over once the deadline has passed Sunday night when I grade everything on Monday. So I think those are all like the general tips that I want to give you about the test. The only other thing I can think to say is that I want you all to do well. If every single one of you got an A, I would be thrilled. I've given you a study guide with all of the terms you need to know. I will never trick you on an exam. There will never be a trick question. I just think those are mean and they just prey on your anxiety. So just make sure that you have studied and prepared and you should be in really good shape. And all of the exams are a very similar format. So if you do well on this one, you should be good moving forward. But just make sure again that you study and prepare and then leave yourself enough time and take it early enough in the week that you don't run into an issue. Okay. Are there any other questions about the exam that I can answer at the moment? Is there anything else that you're confused about or anything I can help you with? I'm going to wait just a second just to make sure. And again, if you think of any questions, of course, put them in the chat. But I do want to make sure that you're feeling as good as you can about the exam. I know they make people very stressed, but being able to use your notes and the study guide, I think, is going to go a long way for helping you do really well. Okay. I have a couple of reminders for you, and then of course I'll give you that Twitch extra credit question. Remember that everything from weeks 1 and 2 is due by this Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. Please remember that my policy with late work is that I don't accept things after the deadline. So if something comes up between now and Sunday night, make sure that you reach out to me before the deadline, and I'm happy to work with you. If you reach out to me after the deadline, it's going to be too late. So just please keep that in the back of your mind as we move through the rest of the week. If something comes up or if you have an emergency or like you need help or more time, just please reach out to me before the deadline and I'm happy to work with you and help. Okay. The other reminder I have for you, and I'll put this here in the chat. If you're looking ahead, our next Twitch live stream will be on Wednesday, October 23rd. At 11:45 a.m. Okay, so I'll probably stick with 11:45. My class gets out at 11:15, and by the time I get home, it's like 11:40. So it'll be hard for me to make that 11:30 time. But I'll probably move it to there just so I can do it at home and make sure we have a good internet connection. The other reminder I have for you, and I'll put this here in the chat, if you could please take a moment to double check your subscription status. Several of you have figured this out, which is really wonderful, but it helps me so much with identifying who's here. I don't have to download, or I can download your names instead of like matching it up manually. It saves me so much time. So selfishly, I really appreciate those of you who have done that. It also allows you to answer the extra credit question later if you are watching this as a recording. So if you could just double check that every week, I would really appreciate it. The last thing is let me give you the extra credit question for this week, and then I can show you where to answer that since we're still kind of learning our process here. So this is the week number 2 Twitch extra credit question. I'm going to put it here in the chat. What is meant by electrochemical communication? Describe both pieces of how neurons communicate with each other. And I'm trying to help you out a little bit here in the discussion for this week. This is something that you should be thinking about there as well. So what is meant by electrochemical communication? And describe both pieces of how neurons communicate with each other. And when you're ready to answer that, you'll go back to Canvas. And since we're in week 2, you'll click on optional Twitch extra credit number 2 right here. And then up at the top, you'll click on Start Assignment. And that brings up this text box where you can type your response. And when you're done, you'll hit Submit and it gives you the little confetti burst and rocket ships. Why not? It's always something random, which is kind of funny. But that will allow you to get those 2 points. Again, if you're watching this later as a recording, you can still get those points if you are subscribed. So make sure that you do that if you have not already. If you haven't already done week number 1, make sure you get going on that. But everything from weeks 1 and 2 is due by this Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. And I think that's everything that I wanted to go over with all of you. I will hang out for a little bit if you do have any questions or like things that you want to discuss. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful week. Enjoy this beautiful, gloomy weather. I love it so much that it's like dark and cold and cloudy outside. It's so beautiful. It feels like we finally have some fall weather today, and I love that. So I hope you have a great week. Thank you so much for joining me. It does feel like fall, and I'm all in on that. That is so nice. I love the fall. So yes, have a wonderful rest of your day. I'm going to minimize my video so I'm not staring at myself, but I will hang out for a few minutes if you do have any questions. And again, thank you all for joining me. I will hope to see you next week. Good luck on the exam. And don't forget to do all those things to set you up for success like we talked about. You too have a wonderful day. Thank you. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you again for joining me. You're welcome. Thank you so much for being here.